The mail pouch hit the floor of the iron hollow dance hall with a slap that turned every head. Nora Prescott stood in the doorway, breath clouding in the cold air behind her, her auburn hair pinned in soft waves that had come loose during the long ride from the territorial office. Her burgundy dress was dusted with snow and road grit. She held a single folded paper in one gloved hand, and her face was pale in the lantern light. The fiddlers stopped mid-phrase. Couples froze in the middle of a turn. Nora's gaze swept the room, hesitated, then locked on a man standing near the back wall, with a tin cup of cider in his hand, and a look of easy calm that was about to shatter. His name was Hollis Keane. She had known him for 3 weeks. He had helped her fix a broken axle on her mail wagon in a rainstorm, had brought her hot coffee at dawn when she was sorting letters in the freezing post office, and had asked her twice if she needed firewood. She had thought about him more than she should. Now she was holding a fugitive warrant with his name on it. The room was silent. Nora took one step forward. Hollis set the cup down slowly, his gray-blue eyes never leaving hers. His hand drifted toward his coat pocket. She shook her head once, sharp and clear. "Do not run. Not yet." Someone behind her whispered the word Marshal. Nora's heartbeat hammered in her ears. She had 2 choices: deliver the warrant and watch him hang for a crime she did not understand, or lie to an entire town and become the one thing she had spent her whole life refusing to be: a liar, like her father. The door behind her was still open. Cold wind poured in. Hollis took one step toward her, his face unreadable, and the room held its breath. Nora's father had been a land office clerk who sold forged deeds and left her mother to face the creditors alone. Nora had been 16. She had learned that people who lied did not get second chances, and she had built her entire adult life on that principle. She carried the mail because the mail was truth. Letters, contracts, warrants, receipts. Truth on paper, delivered without bias. She did not open envelopes. She did not lose parcels. She did not lie. Until tonight. She folded the warrant in half and slipped it into her coat pocket. "I came to tell you the territorial road is washed out past Miller's Creek," she said, loud enough for the room to hear. "No mail tomorrow." Her voice was steady. Hollis stared at her. His jaw tightened. The fiddler coughed and lifted his bow. Someone laughed nervously. The couples began to move again, slow and uncertain. Nora turned and walked out into the snow before anyone could ask her why she looked like she had seen a ghost. She made it halfway across the square before Hollis caught up with her. His hand closed around her wrist, not rough, but firm. She spun to face him. Lantern light from the hall spilled across the frozen ground. "Why?" he said. His voice was low and raw. "Why did you do that?" She pulled her wrist free. "Because I do not know what you did," she said. "And I do not hang people on paper alone." His eyes searched her face. "You should have delivered it. Now you are part of this." "I know," she said. Her breath came fast. "I know. Tell me the truth. All of it. Or I will go back in there and correct my mistake." Hollis looked over his shoulder toward the hall, then back at her. "Not here. Meet me at the livery in 1 hour. Alone." He walked away before she could answer, his coat collar turned up against the wind, his steps quick and deliberate. Nora stood in the snow and watched him go. Her hands were shaking. She had just committed a federal offense for a man she barely knew. She did not even know why. The livery was dark, except for a single lantern hanging near the tack room. Nora arrived early and waited in the cold, her arms wrapped around herself. The smell of hay and horse sweat and leather filled the space. Hollis appeared exactly on time, slipping in through the side door and closing it quietly behind him. He did not say anything at first. He just stood there, looking at her like he was trying to decide whether she was real. Then he pulled a folded envelope from inside his coat and held it out. "These are the stolen papers," he said. "I took them from a cattle syndicate office in Cheyenne. They are contracts that prove the syndicate has been buying land with forged survey maps and pushing small ranchers off their claims. I was working as a hand on one of those ranches. My boss, a man named Ames, found out what the syndicate was doing. He sent me to get proof. I got the proof. But Ames was killed 2 days later. They made it look like an accident. By the time I got back, his ranch was sold and his family was gone. I ran. I have been running ever since." Nora took the envelope. Her fingers brushed his. She opened it carefully and scanned the top page by lantern light. The handwriting was neat. The numbers were clear. The signatures looked official. "This is evidence," she said. "Not theft." He shook his head. "Not to the law." "To the law. I am a thief who broke into a private office and stole property. The syndicate has a federal judge in their pocket. They issued the warrant the same week. No trial, no questions. Just a warrant and a bounty." Nora looked up at him. "Why did you stay here? Why did you not keep running?" He met her eyes. "Because I am tired," he said quietly. "I am tired of looking over my shoulder. I am tired of lying about my name. I am tired of being afraid. And because you looked at me like I was a person, not a ghost." That was the first time in 8 months anyone had done that. Nora folded the envelope and handed it back. "You need to leave tonight," she said. "If I found that warrant, others will too. The territorial marshal rotates through every 6 weeks. He will be here in 4 days." Hollis took the envelope but did not move. "Where would I go?" Nora hesitated. She had spent 3 weeks watching this man from a distance. He worked at the Crescent Ranch, mucking stalls and mending fences. He was quiet. He was careful. He helped the cook carry water without being asked. He did not drink in the saloon. He did not start fights. He was either the best liar she had ever met, or he was exactly what he appeared to be. A good man in a bad situation. "I do not know," she said finally. "But staying here will get you killed." He stepped closer. The lantern light caught the edge of his jaw, the tired lines around his eyes. "What if I do not run this time?" he said. "What if I stand and fight?" She stared at him. "With what? You have no lawyer, no allies, no money. You have stolen papers and a warrant with your name on it. That is not a fight. That is suicide." He smiled, thin and bitter. "Then I guess I am a fool." Nora felt something crack open inside her chest. "Do not do this," she said. "Do not make me watch you hang because you are too stubborn to run." His smile faded. "Why do you care?" She did not have an answer that made sense. "Because I delivered your kindness in a town that did not give me any," she said finally. "Because you fixed my axle in the rain and did not ask for anything. Because I do not want to be the person who put the rope around your neck. That is why. Hollis looked at her for a long moment. Then he reached out and touched her hand. Just once, his fingers rough and warm. Thank you, he said. For lying. For this. For not walking away. She pulled her hand back before she could do something stupid like hold on. We are not finished, she said. If you are going to fight, you need a plan better than standing still and hoping. He raised an eyebrow. You have one. Maybe, she said. But it is going to cost you. The plan was simple and dangerous. Hollis would stay in Iron Hollow. Nora would use her position as mail carrier to quietly gather statements from other ranchers who had been pushed off their land by the syndicate. She would carry those statements to the territorial governor's office when she made her next run. If they could prove a pattern of fraud, the warrant might be suspended long enough for a real investigation. It was a long shot. It required Hollis to stay visible and vulnerable for at least 2 weeks. And it required Nora to lie every single day to everyone who asked if she had seen any fugitive notices. She hated it. She agreed anyway. They started the next morning. Nora made her usual routes, delivering letters and parcels. But now she carried a second satchel tucked under her seat. Every time she stopped at a ranch that had changed hands in the last year, she asked careful questions. Did you sell willingly? Did the survey match your deed? Did anyone pressure you? Most people would not talk. A few did. By the end of the first week, she had 4 signed statements and a growing sense that someone was watching her. Hollis stayed at the Crescent Ranch and kept his head down. But he also started showing up in town more often. He walked Nora to the post office in the mornings. He carried her firewood. He sat with her on the bench outside the general store while she sorted mail. People noticed. People talked. By the second week, the town had decided Hollis Keane and Nora Prescott were courting. Nora did not correct them. Neither did Hollis. It was easier to let people think they were a couple than to explain why a ranch hand and a mail carrier were spending so much time together. And if she was honest, it was not entirely a lie. She liked the way he listened when she talked. She liked the way he noticed when she was tired. She liked the quiet steadiness of him, the way he did not need to fill every silence with words. She liked him. That was the problem. On the 13th day, 2 men rode into Iron Hollow. They wore long coats and wide-brimmed hats, and they carried rifles across their saddles. They tied their horses outside the saloon and went inside without speaking to anyone. Nora heard about it an hour later from the postmaster, a nervous man named Gil, who had a habit of repeating gossip. Bounty hunters, Gil said, leaning across the counter. Looking for someone. Did not say who. But they have a picture. Nora's stomach dropped. She kept her face blank. A picture. Gil nodded. Drawn portrait. Young fellow. Dark hair. Beard. Could be anybody. But they are asking around. Nora finished sorting the last bundle of letters and tied it with string. Her hands were steady. Let me know if they come by, she said. I will, Gil said. You be careful, Miss Prescott. Men like that do not care who gets in the way. Nora left the post office and walked straight to the Crescent Ranch. It was a 3-mile walk in frozen mud. Her boots were caked by the time she arrived. She found Hollis in the barn, brushing down a gray mare. He looked up when she came in, and his face changed the moment he saw hers. What happened? Bounty hunters, she said. 2 of them. They have a picture. Hollis set the brush down slowly. How long? She does not know. They arrived this morning. Hollis looked at the mare, then back at Nora. His jaw was tight. I need to leave. Tonight. No, Nora said. She stepped closer. If you run now, they will know it was you. You stay. We stay. We make this look so ordinary they do not look twice. He stared at her. You want me to walk around town with 2 men hunting me? Yes, she said. With me. We are courting, remember? We go to supper. We sit on the porch. We act like 2 people who have nothing to hide. His eyes searched hers. You are insane. Maybe, she said. But I am also right. Running makes you guilty. Staying makes you invisible. He shook his head, but he did not argue. All right, he said quietly. We stay. But if this goes wrong, you run. You do not try to save me. You just run. Nora did not agree. She did not say anything at all. She just looked at him until he looked away first. That night, they walked into the saloon together. The bounty hunters were sitting at a corner table, drinking whiskey and watching the room. Nora felt their eyes on her the moment she stepped inside. She kept her hand on Hollis's arm and walked to the bar like she had every right to be there. The bartender, a man named Frost, raised an eyebrow. Miss Prescott, I did not expect to see you here, she smiled. Mr. Keane promised me supper. I am holding him to it. Frost glanced at Hollis, then back at Nora. He poured 2 glasses of cider without comment. They sat at a small table near the window. Nora kept her back to the bounty hunters. Hollis sat across from her, his face calm but his shoulders tight. Do not look at them, she said quietly. Just look at me. He did. His gray-blue eyes locked on hers, and for a moment the rest of the room disappeared. She felt her heartbeat kick up. This was supposed to be an act. It did not feel like one. She reached across the table and took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, rough and warm. The gesture was for show. The way his thumb brushed across her knuckles was not. One of the bounty hunters stood and walked toward the bar. He stopped next to their table. Nora did not look up. Excuse me, the man said. His voice was flat and cold. You folks live around here? Hollis answered without hesitation. Crescent Ranch, he said. I work the stock. And you, the man said, looking at Nora. Mail carrier, Nora said. I run the territorial route twice a week. The man grunted. You see many strangers. Some, Nora said. Mostly drovers and supply wagons. Why? The man pulled a folded paper from his coat and laid it on the table. It was a hand-drawn portrait. The face was rough, but recognizable. Dark hair. Beard. Strong jaw. It looked enough like Hollis to make Nora's heart stop. We are looking for this man, the bounty hunter said. Fugitive. Dangerous. There is a reward. Nora picked up the paper and studied it. She tilted her head. Looks like half the men in this territory, she said. The bounty hunter did not smile. You seen him or not? Nora handed the paper back. No, she said. Sorry. The man looked at Hollis. You? Hollis shook his head. No, never seen him. The bounty hunter stared at him for a long moment. Then he folded the paper and walked back to his table. Nora exhaled slowly. Hollis squeezed her hand once, hard, then let go. They left the saloon 20 minutes later and walked back toward the post office in silence. The street was empty. Snow had started to fall again, thin and dry. Nora's breath clouded in the cold. Hollis walked close enough that their shoulders brushed. When they reached the post office, he stopped. That was too close, he said. I know, Nora said. He looked down at her. His face was half in shadow. Why are you doing this? I told you. I do not hang people on paper alone. That is not the whole truth, he said. Nora's throat tightened. She could lie. She was good at lying now. But she was tired of it. Because I think you are a good man, she said. Because I think you are telling the truth. And because I spent my whole life hating my father for being a liar. And I do not want to be the person who let an innocent man die, just so I could keep my hands clean. Hollis stared at her. Then he leaned down and kissed her, slow and careful, his hand cupping the side of her face. Nora froze for half a second, then kissed him back. His mouth was warm. His beard was rough against her skin. The world narrowed to the taste of whiskey and cold air, and the pressure of his hand at the back of her neck. When he pulled away, she was breathing hard. That was not part of the plan, she said. I know, he said. His voice was rough. I do not care. She looked up at him. Her heart was pounding. We are going to get caught. Probably, he said. Do you want me to stop? No, she said. That was the truth. He kissed her again, longer this time, and she let herself fall into it. They stood in the snow outside the post office and kissed like two people who had nothing to lose. By the time they pulled apart, Nora's face was flushed, and her hair was coming loose. Hollis brushed a strand behind her ear. I should go, he said. If those men are watching. She nodded. Be careful. He smiled. Just a little. You too. Then he turned and walked toward the livery, his coat collar turned up against the snow. Nora watched him go. Her lips were still tingling. She touched them once, then went inside and locked the door behind her. The next morning, Nora woke to the sound of hammering. She dressed quickly and went outside. A crowd had gathered in the square. She pushed through and saw a man nailing a notice to the post outside the general store. It was a wanted poster. Hollis's name was printed across the top in bold letters. Below it was the same rough portrait the bounty hunters had shown her. Below that, a reward amount. $500. Dead or alive. Nora's stomach turned. The man finished hammering and stepped back. The crowd murmured. Someone said, I know that fellow. Works at the Crescent Ranch. Another voice said, I saw him last night. He was with the mail carrier. Nora turned and walked away before anyone could see her face. She went straight to the Crescent Ranch. Hollis was already gone. The foreman, a grizzled man named Tate, met her at the gate. He left an hour ago, Tate said. Saw the notice and packed his gear. I did not stop him. Nora's chest tightened. Where did he go? Tate shrugged, did not say. But he took the ridge trail that leads north toward the territorial line. Nora ran back to town. She saddled her mail wagon horse, a sturdy bay gelding named Sam, and rode north. The ridge trail was steep and icy. She pushed Sam hard, her breath coming fast. By the time she reached the top of the ridge, the sun was high and cold. She saw Hollis a quarter-mile ahead, riding a borrowed roan. She shouted his name. He turned. For a moment, he just stared at her. Then he reined in and waited. She caught up, her face flushed and her hands numb. "What are you doing?" she said. "Leaving," he said flatly. "Before you get hurt." "I do not care if I get hurt," she said. He shook his head. "You should. You have a life here, a job, a future. I have nothing." "That is not true," she said. "You have me." Hollis looked at her. His face was raw. "I cannot ask you to give up everything for me." "You are not asking," she said. "I am choosing. There is a difference." He dismounted and walked over to her. He reached up and took her hand. "Nora, this is not a story. This is real. If they catch me, they will hang me. And if you are with me, they will ruin you." "I know," she said. "I do not care." He stared at her. Then he pulled her down from the saddle and held her, tight and desperate, his face pressed against her hair. "I do not deserve you," he said. "Probably not," she said. "But you have me anyway." They rode back to Iron Hollow together. It was a stupid decision. It was the only decision. Hollis could not keep running, and Nora could not let him face this alone. They arrived at sunset. The bounty hunters were waiting in the square. So was half the town. Nora dismounted first. Hollis stayed on the roan, his hands loose on the reins. One of the bounty hunters stepped forward. "That him," he said, pointing at Hollis. Nora walked between them. "Yes," she said. "That is him." The crowd went silent. The bounty hunter narrowed his eyes. "You lied to me last night." "Yes," Nora said. "I did." "Why?" "Because he is not a criminal," Nora said. She pulled the folded envelope from inside her coat and held it up. "He is a witness. The cattle syndicate in Cheyenne has been defrauding ranchers for 2 years. Hollis Keane stole the proof. That is why they want him dead. Not because he is a thief, because he knows the truth." The bounty hunter did not move. "That is not my problem," he said. "I have a warrant. I do not care what he knows." "Then you should," Nora said. "Because I have 6 signed statements from ranchers in this territory who were pushed off their land by forged surveys, and I have contracts with syndicate signatures that prove it. I sent copies to the territorial governor 3 days ago. If you hang this man, you will be hanging a federal witness." The bounty hunter hesitated. Nora saw it. She pressed harder. "The governor is already reviewing the case," she said. "If you want your bounty, you wait for the ruling. If you take him now, you will be obstructing a federal investigation. That is a hanging offense." The second bounty hunter stepped forward. "How do we know you are telling the truth?" "You do not," Nora said. "But you can ride to the territorial office and check. It is a 3-day trip. Or you can take him now and risk a noose of your own. Your choice." The 2 men looked at each other. The crowd watched in silence. Finally, the first bounty hunter spat in the dirt. "We will wait," he said. 3 days. "If the governor does not rule by then, we take him." Nora nodded. "Fair enough." The bounty hunters walked back to the saloon. The crowd began to disperse, murmuring. Hollis dismounted and came to stand beside Nora. His face was pale. "Did you really send those statements to the governor?" "Yes," she said. 3 days ago. "Will he rule in time?" "I do not know," she said. "But we bought 3 days. That is something." Hollis looked at her. "You just made yourself a target." "I know," she said. He reached for her hand. She took it. They stood in the middle of the square, holding on, while the sun set behind the mountains and the temperature dropped, and the snow started to fall again. The next 3 days were the longest of Nora's life. The bounty hunters stayed in town, watching. Hollis stayed at the Crescent Ranch, under Tate's supervision, working and waiting. Nora ran her mail routes and tried not to think about what would happen if the governor did not rule in time. On the 3rd day, a rider came in from the territorial office. He was young and official-looking, with a leather satchel and a tired horse. He went straight to the post office. Nora was sorting letters when he walked in. "Are you Nora Prescott?" he said. "Yes," she said. He handed her a sealed envelope from the governor's office. "Orders to deliver it to you personally." Nora took the envelope. Her hands were shaking. She broke the seal and unfolded the letter. It was short. The syndicate contracts had been reviewed. An investigation had been opened. The warrant for Hollis Keane was suspended pending testimony. He was to report to the territorial office within 2 weeks to give a formal statement. Nora read it twice. Then she looked up at the messenger. "This is real." "Yes, ma'am," he said. "The governor takes land fraud seriously. Your statements were enough to start an inquiry. Mr. Keane is a free man as long as he cooperates." Nora folded the letter carefully. "Thank you," she said. The messenger tipped his hat and left. Nora stood in the post office holding the letter and felt something enormous lift off her chest. She locked the door and ran to the Crescent Ranch. She found Hollis in the barn, mucking stalls. He looked up when she came in, and his face went still. "The letter," she said, holding it out. "He is ruling. They suspended the warrant. You are free." Hollis stared at her. Then he dropped the shovel and crossed the barn in 3 strides. He took the letter and read it, his lips moving. When he finished, he looked at her. His eyes were wet. "You did this," he said. "We did this," she said. He pulled her into his arms and held her so tight she could barely breathe. She did not care. She wrapped her arms around his neck and held on. They stayed like that for a long time, standing in the cold barn, while the horses shifted in their stalls and the wind rattled the roof. Finally, Hollis pulled back just enough to look at her. "I have to go to the territorial office in 2 weeks," he said. "I know," she said. "I am coming with you." He smiled. "Of course you are." The bounty hunters left town the next morning. They did not say goodbye. Nora did not care. She had other things to think about. The town was talking. Some people said she had been reckless. Some said she had been brave. A few said she had been stupid. Nora did not correct any of them. She just kept doing her job. She delivered the mail. She carried parcels. She smiled at the people who smiled at her and ignored the ones who did not. And every evening, Hollis walked her home from the post office. They did not talk much. They did not need to. They just walked side by side through the cold streets, their shoulders brushing, and it was enough. On the fifth night, Hollis stopped outside her door. "I need to tell you something," he said. "All right," she said. His face was serious. "When I go to the territorial office, I do not know what will happen. They might decide the evidence is not enough. They might issue a new warrant. They might send me to trial." "I know," she said. He reached for her hand. "If that happens, I do not want you tied to me. You deserve a life that is not full of running and waiting and wondering. You deserve better." Nora looked at him. Her chest was tight. "Do you want me to walk away?" "No," he said. His voice cracked. "But I think you should." She stepped closer. Her hand tightened on his. "I spent my whole life being careful," she said. "I followed the rules. I did not take risks. I did not let people close. And I was safe. I was also alone. You are the first person who made me feel like I could be something other than afraid. So no, I am not walking away. Not now. Not ever. You are stuck with me, Hollis Keane. Deal with it." He stared at her. Then he kissed her, hard and desperate, his hands framing her face. She kissed him back, pouring everything she could not say into it. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. "I love you," he said. It was the first time he had said it out loud. "I love you too," she said. It was the first time she had said it to anyone. They stood there in the snow, holding each other, and for the first time in her life, Nora was not afraid. The trip to the territorial office took 4 days. They rode together in Nora's mail wagon, bundled in coats and blankets, stopping at relay stations to rest the horses. Hollis was quiet most of the time, his face drawn and tense. Nora did not push him. She just sat beside him and kept her hand on his knee when the road was rough. When they reached the office, a clerk took Hollis into a back room for questioning. Nora waited outside. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, the door opened. Hollis walked out, his face pale but steady. The clerk followed him. "The governor has decided to move forward with the investigation," the clerk said. "Mr. Keane's testimony will be part of the formal inquiry. The warrant is permanently suspended. He is free to go." Nora stood. Relief flooded through her. Hollis looked at her. His eyes were bright. "It is over," he said. She nodded. "It is over." They left the office and stood on the street in the cold sunlight. Hollis took her hand. "What now?" he said. "Now we go home," she said. "Where is home?" he said. "Iron Hollow," she said. "If you want it to be." He smiled. "I want it to be." They climbed back into the wagon and headed south. The sky was clear. The road was frozen, but passable. Nora leaned against Hollis's shoulder, and he wrapped his arm around her. They did not talk much. They did not need to. They just rode together through the wide open country. 2 people who had chosen each other when it mattered most. When they reached Iron Hollow 3 days later, the town was preparing for Christmas. Lanterns hung in the square. Someone had set up a small evergreen and decorated it with ribbons. Nora and Hollis pulled the wagon to a stop outside the post office. Tate was waiting on the porch. He tipped his hat. "Good to see you back," he said to Hollis. "Still need a hand at the ranch if you are interested." Hollis glanced at Nora. She nodded. I am interested, Hollis said. Good, Tate said. Start tomorrow. He walked away. Nora climbed down from the wagon. Hollis followed. They stood together in the square, watching the lanterns sway in the wind. You really want to stay here, he said. Yes, she said. Do you? He looked at her. His face was open and unguarded. Yes, he said. I do. Then it is settled, she said. He took her hand. Not quite, he said. There is one more thing. She raised an eyebrow. What? Marry me, he said. Nora froze. He squeezed her hand. I know it is fast, he said. I know we have only known each other a few months. But I also know I do not want to spend another day without you. I want to wake up next to you. I want to fix your wagon when it breaks. I want to carry your firewood. I want to be the person you come home to. So marry me, Nora, please. Nora's throat was tight. She looked at him. This man who had been a stranger 6 weeks ago. This man who had become her entire world. Yes, she said. Yes, I will marry you. He kissed her, slow and deep, right there in the middle of the square. A few people clapped. Someone whistled. Nora did not care. She just held on and kissed him back. They were married 2 weeks later in the Iron Hollow Church. It was a small ceremony. Tate stood as witness. The postmaster's wife played the piano. A few ranchers and townspeople filled the pews. Nora wore a simple cream-colored dress she had borrowed from the general store owner. Hollis wore his best shirt and a clean coat. They stood in front of the minister and said their vows, their voices steady and clear. When the minister said, "You may kiss your bride," Hollis leaned down and kissed her like it was the first time and the last time all at once. The congregation clapped. Nora smiled against his mouth. They walked out of the church together into the cold, bright afternoon. Someone had tied ribbons to the mail wagon. Someone else had left a basket of food on the seat. Hollis lifted Nora into the wagon and climbed up beside her. Where to? He said. Home, she said. They drove to the small cabin Hollis had rented on the edge of town. It was plain and drafty, with a stone fireplace and a narrow bed, and not much else. Nora loved it. She loved the way Hollis carried her over the threshold. She loved the way he built a fire and made coffee. She loved the way he pulled her close and kissed her forehead and said, "I am the luckiest man alive." She loved him. They spent their first night as husband and wife wrapped in blankets by the fire, talking about the future. Hollis wanted to save enough money to buy a small piece of land. Nora wanted to keep running the mail route, but maybe hire help so she could take a day off now and then. They talked about children. They talked about horses. They talked about building a life that was quiet and safe, and theirs. When the fire burned low, they went to bed. Hollis held her close, his hand resting on her hip, his breath warm against her neck. Nora closed her eyes and felt something she had not felt in years. Peace. She was home. Not because of the place, because of the person beside her. Winter turned to spring. The snow melted. The roads dried. Nora ran her mail routes, and Hollis worked at the Crescent Ranch. They saved money. They bought a small plot of land 2 miles outside town. They started building a house board by board, with help from Tate and a few other hands. It was slow work. It was good work. By summer, the house had walls and a roof. By fall, it had windows and a door. They moved in on a clear October afternoon, carrying their few belongings in a borrowed wagon. The house was small, but solid. It had a stone fireplace, a wide front porch, and a view of the mountains. Nora stood in the doorway and looked out at the land. Hollis came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "What do you think?" he said. "I think it is perfect," she said. He kissed the side of her neck. "I think so too." They spent their first night in the new house lying on a blanket in front of the fireplace, watching the flames dance. Hollis traced patterns on Nora's hand. She leaned against his shoulder. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you had delivered that warrant?" he said. "Yes," she said, "all the time. And I think I would have spent the rest of my life regretting it," she said. He looked at her. "I am glad you did not." "Me too," she said. They fell asleep by the fire, tangled together, warm and safe. The next morning, Nora woke to the sound of Hollis making coffee. She sat up and watched him move around the small kitchen, his hair still messy from sleep, his shirt untucked. He looked over and smiled. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she said. He brought her a cup of coffee and sat down beside her. She took a sip. It was terrible. She did not tell him. She just smiled and drank it anyway. "This is good," she said. "You are a terrible liar," he said. "I know," she said. "But I am getting better." He laughed. They sat together in the quiet morning light, drinking bad coffee and planning their day. Nora had a mail run. Hollis had fences to mend. It was ordinary. It was perfect. When Nora left for her route an hour later, Hollis walked her to the wagon and kissed her goodbye. "Be safe," he said. "Always," she said. She climbed onto the wagon and took the reins. Sam, the bay gelding, snorted and stamped. Hollis stepped back. "I love you," he called. "I love you too," she said. Then she drove away, the morning sun on her face, her heart full and light. Behind her, Hollis stood in the yard and watched until she disappeared over the hill. Then he turned and went back to work, a smile on his face, a future ahead of him. 6 months later, Nora realized she was pregnant. She told Hollis on a Sunday evening while they were sitting on the porch watching the sunset. He stared at her for a long moment, his face unreadable. Then he pulled her into his arms and held her so tight she laughed. "Are you happy?" she said. "Happy does not cover it," he said. His voice was thick. "I am terrified and thrilled, and I do not know what I am doing, but yes, I am happy." "Good," she said. "Because I am too." The baby came in early spring, a girl with dark hair and her father's eyes. They named her Claire. She was small and loud and perfect. Hollis held her like she was made of glass. Nora watched him cradle their daughter and felt her heart crack open in the best possible way. "You are good at this," she said. "I have no idea what I am doing," he said. "Neither do I," she said. "We will figure it out." They did. Slowly, imperfectly, together. Nora went back to running mail routes after a few months, with Claire bundled in a sling against her chest. Hollis built a crib and a rocking chair. They took turns walking the floor at night when Claire cried. They took turns making terrible coffee and burnt breakfast. They learned to be parents the way they had learned to be partners, by showing up, by choosing each other, by refusing to give up. 1 year became 2. 2 became 5. The house grew. They added a second room. They planted a garden. They bought chickens. Hollis took a job as foreman at the Crescent Ranch. Nora trained a younger carrier to take over half her routes. They saved money. They built a life. Claire grew into a bright, stubborn child who loved horses and hated sitting still. She had her mother's resolve and her father's quiet steadiness. She asked 1,000 questions and never accepted the first answer. Nora loved her fiercely. So did Hollis. On Claire's 5th birthday, they took her into town for cake at the general store. The whole town came. Tate brought a carved wooden horse. The postmaster's wife brought ribbons. The bounty hunters were long gone. The syndicate investigation had ended in arrests and trials. Hollis's name had been cleared completely. He was just a man now. A husband. A father. A foreman. It was enough. It was everything. That night, after Claire was asleep, Nora and Hollis sat on the porch and watched the stars. The air was cool and clear. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote called. "Do you ever think about that night in the dance hall?" Hollis said. "All the time," Nora said. "Do you?" "Every day," he said. He took her hand. "I think about what would have happened if you had walked away. If you had delivered that warrant. If you had chosen the easy path. I think I would be dead. Or still running. Either way, I would not have this." He gestured at the house, the land, the life they had built. Nora squeezed his hand. "I did not walk away," she said. "I know," he said, "and I will spend the rest of my life being grateful for that." She looked at him. His face was older now, lined by sun and work, but his eyes were the same. Steady, honest, kind. "I love you," she said. "I love you too," he said. They sat together in the quiet night, holding hands. Two people who had chosen each other when the world had tried to tear them apart. Two people who had built a life on forgiveness and trust and the stubborn refusal to give up. Two people who were home. Inside the house, Claire stirred in her sleep and murmured something soft and unintelligible. Nora smiled. Hollis kissed her temple. The stars turned overhead. The wind whispered through the grass. And in the small house on the edge of Iron Hollow, a family slept, safe and whole and loved. Years passed. Claire grew into a young woman who looked like her mother and argued like her father. She learned to ride before she learned to read. She learned to shoot before she learned to cook. She wanted to be a mail carrier like her mother. Nora taught her the routes, the relay stations, the shortcuts through the hills. Hollis taught her to fix a wagon wheel and shoe a horse. She was 17 when she took her first solo run. Nora stood in the yard and watched her daughter drive away, her heart in her throat. Hollis put his arm around her. "She will be fine," he said. "I know," Nora said, "but I am still terrified." He kissed the top of her head. That never goes away. Claire came back 3 days later, dusty and triumphant. She handed Nora a bundle of letters and grinned. "Easy," she said. Nora hugged her. Hollis ruffled her hair. They sat together on the porch and talked about the route, the weather, the people Claire had met. It was ordinary. It was everything Nora had ever wanted. That night, after Claire went to bed, Nora and Hollis lay in their own bed. The window opened to the cool night air. Hollis traced patterns on her shoulder. "You did good," he said. "We did good," she said. He pulled her closer. "I am proud of her," Me too, Nora said. And I am proud of us. He looked at her. For what? For not giving up, she said. For choosing each other. For building this. He kissed her, slow and sweet. I would choose you 1,000 times, he said. Good, she said. Because I would choose you every time. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, the way they had for 20 years. Outside, the wind moved through the grass. The stars turned overhead. The world kept spinning. And in the small house on the edge of Iron Hollow, two people who had saved each other slept, safe and whole and home. 25 years after that night in the dance hall, Nora stood in the Iron Hollow square and watched the town celebrate its 50th anniversary. There was music and dancing and long tables covered with food. Claire was there with her husband, a quiet rancher named Ben, and their 2 children. Hollis stood beside Nora, his hair silver now, his hands scarred from years of work. He held her hand the way he always had, like she was the most precious thing in the world. The fiddler started a waltz. Hollis turned to her. Dance with me. She smiled. I am too old to dance. So am I, he said. Dance with me anyway. She took his hand. They stepped onto the makeshift dance floor, and he pulled her close. They moved slowly, carefully, their bodies remembering the rhythm even if their knees protested. Around them, the town danced and laughed. Nora looked up at Hollis. His face was lined and weathered, but his eyes were the same. Steady, honest, kind. I love you, she said. I love you too, he said. They danced until the song ended. Then they walked home together through the quiet streets, their fingers laced, their steps slow and easy. When they reached the house, they sat on the porch and watched the sun set. The air was warm. The sky was gold and pink and purple. Somewhere in the distance, a meadowlark sang. This is a good life, Hollis said. Yes, Nora said. It is. He squeezed her hand. No regrets. None, she said. Not one. They sat together in the fading light. Two people who had chosen each other when it mattered most. Two people who had built a life on trust and forgiveness and love. Two people who were home. The sun slipped below the horizon. The stars came out. And in the small house on the edge of Iron Hollow, two people who had saved each other sat together, safe and whole and loved, until the very end.